Okay, so today's learning target is I can apply my knowledge of angles to describe angles relationships. So I just want us to take a note. There is an agenda for the week. It says Monday we're going to learn about vertical angles, which is what we're doing today. Tuesday we're going to learn about perpendicular bisectors. Monday and Tuesday we're both in person, so those of you that are home, there's going to be a video. Wednesday we're all remote, so there is a Google Meet. Thursday it's another review, but while the kids in person are working on the review sheet, me and Miss Mackenzie will also be on Google Meets with those of you that are home. So if you have any last minute questions, you can ask. Because Friday we're going to have a mini test of Unit 1. The test will be done on Quizzes. You will sign on to Google Meets and you will take it while you're on Google Meets during that class time period. So you have to be on Google Meets on Friday. Okay? It's not going to be long. And when we get closer to that, I'll show you exactly how that's going to go. All right. So right now, I want you to pause me. And I want you to try to solve the do now problem. So the do now problem says, BD bisects angle ABC. Find the value of X. So I see the word bisect. I know that I'm cutting in half. And I know that my two parts are going to be equal. So here, we're going to set them equal to each other. Oops. Okay. So we're going to subtract, I'm going to subtract 2x. You might have done it differently. That's fine. And I'm going to add, I'm going to add 22 to both sides. So I get 57 equals 3x. I divide by 3. I get x equals 19. Now, because it doesn't say to find, it just says to find x, then I'm done. But if it said to find an angle, I would then have to plug 19 in. Okay, so check your work. See if you got 19. If you didn't get 19, pause me again, erase your work, and recopy down the correct work, okay? All right, the first vocab word that we're going to be going over is adjacent angles. So adjacent angles are two angles that have a common vertex and a common side, but no common interior points. Okay, so let's look at this. An example of an adjacent angle, okay, is angle BCD and angle DCA. Okay, so let's highlight those so we can really see them. BCD and DCA. If you notice, I don't have any overlapping highlight, okay? So that means there's no common interior points. And here's my common line, and there is my common vertex. So that would be an example. A non-example, okay, is angle BCD and angle BCA. So I'm going to erase this for a second, and now let's highlight those. If my highlights overlap, then it's a non-example. So CBD and then BCA. So if you notice, my blue and my red overlap. That's why it's a non-example, okay? So it's the easiest way to, if I ask you or re-ask you, what are two adjacent angles? Find ones that, when you highlight, don't overlap. Okay. Vertical angles. Vertical angles are angles that have that are opposite of each other when two straight lines cross. So here are my two straight lines. If I take my pencil and I draw a line from 1 to 3, those are opposite. So angle 1 is going to be angle 1 and angle 3. Another one would be angle 4 and angle 2. They're across from each other, okay? So whenever I'm given a problem and I want to know which ones are verticals, I just take my pen and I retrace it and I look at my X. Okay, it has to be an X for it to be vertical. And I say, okay, Well, 3 and 1 are surrounded by the same exact lines on either side, okay? So that's how I know they're vertical. A non-example would be like angle 1 and angle 2. Those are actually adjacent. They share a common vertex and a side, and they're next to each other. Angle 4 and angle 3. Again, they are next to each other. They're not across from each other. And there's more for non-examples, but that's what a vertical angle is. Okay. So angle B and angle A are vertical angles. If angle A is 8x minus 20 and angle B is 3x minus 5, find the value of x. So something that I did not say when we were going over this definition is that they are congruent. So if they are congruent, that means that they equal each other. So if angle 1 equals 25, then angle 3 needs to equal 25. Okay, so if I'm given a problem like this, and I know that they're vertical angles, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set them equal to each other. So 8x minus 20 equals 3x minus 5. And now I'm just going to solve. So once again, when you see vertical angles, you are going to set them equal to each other. 5x minus 20 equals negative 5. I'm going to add 20. So 5x equals 15. And I'm going to divide by 5. X equals 3. Okay? Doesn't ask me to solve for angle A or angle B, so I don't have to plug in. But if it did, then I would plug it in. So that's for vertical angles. Now, a problem that you might see is this. So it's telling me to find the missing angles. So with angle relationships, we're going to be using vertical angles, complementary angles. What's a right angle? What's a supplementary angle? Linear pairs. All of that plays into part. Okay? So let's see what I have here. There's so many ways that I can go about this. It's what you see. Okay, so I want you to write down right now, what do you see? Do you see a supplementary? Do you see a right angle? Do you see a vertical angle? Write that down, and that is where you're going to start. Okay, so what I'm going to say is I see a vertical angle. That's what I wrote down when I first did this, okay? And my vertical angle is right here. If I notice, y is right across from 72, so y equals 72 degrees. Okay, so then where did I go from here? Well, I see a straight line. I actually see a linear pair between y and x. Okay, so my linear pair between y and x, that means when I add them together, I get 180. And now I can do this because I know that y equals 72. Again, you might have wrote down that you saw a linear pair first, okay, or a supplementary angle or straight angle or even a 90, I see a right angle there. So wherever you wrote down first is where you are going to go, okay? But you have to be careful because if you wrote this one down first and you didn't have what y was, then you would be stuck and you would have to write down something else that you see. Okay? All right. So I see a right angle, and I see that it's 90 degrees. Okay. Well, I see another straight angle somewhere. Okay? Here's another straight line. All that lies on a straight line. So when I add them together, they equal 180. So I believe I get 162. And I'm going to subtract 162. And I get z equals 18. Okay? So again, I could have started with my pink and worked backwards. That's fine. I could have started with the 90 and the y and set that equal to something. Or the 90, the z, and a y, because that's what's on. Here's another straight angle. If I want to show you another one. Right here. Okay, so y plus 90 plus z equals 180. There's multiple avenues for this. but here's one way. Okay, so pause me and write that down. All right, last one. Find the missing variables and angles. So here, I see a straight angle, okay? So that's what I see first. So let me write that down. Now, what I notice here is I have two variables. I have 2x and I have y. So because I have two variables means that I can't actually solve this. So I'm going to have to write down something else that I see. If I notice here, I have a vertical angle. I have two angles, they're vertical, that means they equal each other. So let me set them equal to each other. Let's see if we can solve this. Okay, so here I set them equal to each other. They have the same variables, so that means I can solve. And I get x equals 35. Okay, so that is what x is. So now if I want to find out what that angle measure is, I'm going to plug 35 into my equation. So it doesn't matter which one you use. I'm going to use this one. And I believe I get 95. So that means that this angle is 95 and this angle is 95. Now I know what x is, right? So if I look back to this one right here, this is 95. So I can now replace that. Okay. So now I have 95 plus y equals 180. Okay, so I am going to subtract 95 and I get y equals 85. And there's 85. Ooh, and that one's 85. So let's take a second and let's look at this. The first thing that I wrote down was my 2x plus 25 plus y equals 180. I couldn't really do anything with that because I had an x and a y, so I had to write something else down. The next thing that I saw is I had vertical angles. Well, we just learned that vertical angles are congruent. So I set 2x plus 25 equals 3x minus 10, and I solved for x, and I got 35. But 35 is just my x. It's also, this question also asked me to find my angles. So I plugged in 35 for x, and I got 95. So now I had one pair of angles. Because I got 95, I now can use this equation because 2x plus 25 really equals 95. So it becomes 95 plus y equals 180. So this was 180, sorry guys. I subtracted 95 and I got y equals 85. Okay? Pause it, copy it down. Me and Miss Mackenzie are available at 2 o'clock. So if you have any questions, sign on to the Google Meet and we will re-go over it. So here are problems that you're going to have to do in your in a Google form, I believe it is. What I want you to do is for each of these problems, find the missing variables and angles. For some of them, you might have to use what you know about straight angles. So it's exactly what we did in that last problem, okay? You're going to write down what you know, and you are going to work from there. This is a Google form, so you will be putting in what your x, your y, and your angles are. If you can just put like what your variables equal first, so some of them is just x, some of them is just y, and then put in your as many as angles as you need. So just do your variables first and then your angles in Google form. That would be good. Anybody have any questions? Well, can't really ask me questions because this is a video. All right, if you have any questions, reach out to me on Remind, and also attend that Google Meet at 2 o'clock. Okay?